Coach, how has the week been for you and the team?
It's been a very decent week. I think very similar to post Cincinnati. Some good work. We have this extra day this week, which I think the guys have appreciated, with a little bit of extra work and a little bit more recovery. But all in all, we're in a good place. There's a terrific feel and mentality about the group, and looking forward to what will be a very difficult but exciting game against Miami at the weekend.
Thank you, Coach. We will now open the floor for questions. Yet another reminder to alert me through the chat if you have questions. We will kick it off with Michelle Kaufman from the Miami Herald. Michelle?
Hi, Coach. Thanks for taking the time. I wanted to ask you, the team, Inter Miami, may look a little different on Sunday. They're going to be probably missing some key starters, but in general, from the two games that you've seen so far, how does the team look different to you under Phil Neville than it did last season? What do you see different so far? Thank you.
Yeah, firstly, the omissions or no omissions, we'll plan for what I believe to be a more organised and still an exciting Miami group. I would imagine they're very happy with the way that their form has looked in their first couple of games. Personally, I think they made some good additions to the group to improve that team. I know there were a lot of changes, but some of the guys that have come in, I think, have added some very good experience and depth to that group and strength in certain areas. All in all, we know it's going to be a really tough game. There's a tremendous amount of attacking ability in the group. It would seem that Phil Neville has got the group far more organised and has started to put his own fingerprints on that team. And to what I've seen, it hasn't affected their ability to score goals or create. But I believe there's a far more disciplined and determined edge to that group than maybe we saw last year. But look, we ran into some issues ourselves in our first year, and Miami, I'm sure, had their own difficulties. It's not easy bringing a group together, and whilst they looked very, very exciting going forward last year, I think the challenge was always going to be, how do they make themselves more difficult to play against? And it looks to me that Phil's got a real good answer to that with his group. Charlie
Bond with MLS Soccer.
Hi, Coach. Following on what you just said, it seems as though last year and in the build-up to last year, there was always this comparison between the two clubs as expansion siblings, and in many ways, it seemed that Nashville formed its identity, maybe somewhat in contrast, or at least in a very different route from Miami. And I wonder if you, it seems like that was vindicated by, the playoff game and the overall results. I wonder if you would agree with that, and if you think, kind of what that relationship or that scenario looks like as you go into this big game on national TV against them.
To your point, there's always going to be those comparisons because we came into the league at the same time, and I would suspect that even though they're not our closest rivals, there's always going to be a bit of an edge to the game because of that. As far as how both organisations went about their business, it was, very, very different. And this game in general is very, very different for each and every group. We have our template of how we want to work and how we recruit and how we go about our business. And I really can't comment on, what or how Miami go about their business. What I can tell you is the guys here worked ever so hard. We needed a foundation, which I felt we achieved in our first year. And it's given us a nice platform to try and push on from. So I can only really look at what we're doing to Miami's situation. They've got their own business to deal with.
We'll continue with a question from Ray Hills with the Tennessean.
Good afternoon, Gary. With everything that's gone on with Miami this week, of course, with the Higuain brothers and their personal matters, but also due to some injuries as well. We're not sure about Robbie Robinson, not sure about Pizarro and his situation as well. But still, this is a game that, to your point, as in your previous answer, is going to be a little bit of an edge for you guys to compete against them. But on top of that, do you feel, based off of the past 2 weeks, that there's a bit of added pressure to get 3 points specifically in this match, based off of how you guys have started the season already? Thanks.
Yeah, as I said, the injuries, omissions to Miami, they've got a very good group. You know, they've added well to it. I've already said that. So they've got some good depth, and whoever they put on the field, they'll be very, very competitive. I'm sure there'll be some feel-good factor around the group after an excellent win last week. So, you know, we certainly won't take this game lightly with whatever the media is saying about certain players. As far as a must-win game and pressure, I honestly think when you're at home, there's always pressure to win games in MLS. Each and every team will look at their home ground and their home fixtures as really being the main focal point of their league performances and points on the board. It's not easy to go away anywhere in this league for obvious reasons. I've been delighted with what we've produced in an attacking sense. We've been much, much brighter, far more positive. We've created an incredible amount of opportunities to win the last 2 games. And I think the only criticism that any of us would have of our own performance, of course, would be the opening exchanges. And you know, we're still working through some difficulties from pre-season. I think the guys have adapted incredibly well. They've shown extremely well in the first 2 games. And I think if we get anywhere close to the last 2 performances, we won't be far away from beating this Miami team. So I don't have too many worries about where we're at. I know for sure that the guys are fully aware and appreciative of what is needed and how we just turn the screw in those opening exchanges.
Tim Sullivan with Whole Club and Country.
Gary, you kind of alluded to it a little bit there. Have you kind of cracked the case of what you need to do to have a brighter time in those opening exchanges, or is it still something that's kind of each of the past 2 games was unique to itself?
Yeah, I think you can look and you can see 1 or 2 little trends within our game in the last 2 performances, but you know, you don't become a poor defensive group, a poor group competing from the type of season we had last year. I think there are some difficulties that we have had to endure across the course of pre-season, and the guys are still trying to find the right rhythm and momentum. And of course, within that, making good choices and being ready in those opening exchanges. And you know, simply put, we're 4 games into what would have been a pre-season right now. You know, having missed out on so many opportunities. But look, as I've said, I'm totally upbeat, very, very positive the way the guys are. I couldn't be happier with the way that they're playing at the moment. And if we were in a perfect scenario and had kept clean sheets in the early 15 minutes of both games, I'd have been blown away, quite frankly, given the way that things went for us.
Ben Wright with Broadway Sports.
Yeah, Gary, you talked after the Montreal game about how maybe things have swung a little bit towards the attacking side of the equation. But I mean, at the same time, you've conceded 4 goals from 6 shots on target. So is there some element of the overall playing being satisfactory and just being a little bit unlucky?
I think we're totally on the right track, Ben. You know, 2 home games. The emphasis from minute 1 in pre-season was to be aggressive when we saw the schedule come out, was to be positive, to be creative. And like I say, we're definitely on the right track. Balance, as I've said, from the very first moment that we ever had a discussion, is key to every team. And maybe we've just started that creative process slightly too early in the game. And that can be down to one or two reasons, and we're trying to work through that. But when we look at the body of work last year, and I now look at where this team's at in an attacking sense, we've moved in a really good direction. And I have absolutely no doubt that some of those fundamental qualities from last year are not far away.
Here with us, we have defender Dave Romney, who will be ready to preview the game for you as well. Dave, how's the team been preparing this week to face Miami on Sunday?
Just going through different build-out shapes, how they might press us in certain scenarios, how we kind of want to press them. And then just looking at a couple scenarios we faced trouble with in recent games and what we want to do to stop those mistakes. And then just normal stuff we do in training leading up to a game.
Thank you for that. A reminder to please alert me through the chat if you have questions for Dave. And we will kick it off with one question from Tim Sullivan with For Club and Country.
Dave, Gary's been kind of clear after each of the last two games that it's kind of been a combination of bad luck and maybe some bad play from you guys that has led to the early holes. How do you see it? Obviously, I know you're going to say that, you always feel like you can improve or whatever, but do you see it as kind of being unfortunate, or is it a lot of it stuff that you really can work on and kind of lock that down at the beginning of games?
Yeah, it's definitely a little bit of both. I think two of the goals have been unfortunate, and then the toy goal, you kind of just have to take your hat off. It's a nice goal. The guy has a really nice finish, and that's just going to happen in soccer sometimes. And then even the first goal we gave up against Cincinnati, the guy plays a really, really nice through ball, and Acosta flicks it over. It was a really nice play. You obviously can do stuff to limit those plays, but sometimes you kind of just got to take your hat off and say that was really, really well done. But I think it's more of a combination of just that and then just unlucky stuff. We kind of saw it at the beginning of last year as well. I mean, I think our expected goals against the beginning of last year was like the lowest in the league, and we gave up like 4 goals, and our expected goals was like 0.2. We had Emerson Hyndman hit an amazing goal against us in the first game. Valeri hit an amazing goal. We were just having really, really nice goals scored on us, even though we were defending well and playing well. And sometimes it just happens. And other times you might not defend well and you just kind of get lucky with breaks. So I think just staying the course, being confident in what we are as a defensive unit and as a team. And in the stretch of 34 games, it'll definitely even itself out. So we're not too worried, but there are certain things that we haven't been as sharp with, and we definitely need to sharpen up, but we still have that confidence that we're a solid defensive team, and we're definitely hard to play against.
The next question coming from Charlie Baum with MLS Soccer.
So we've been kind of comparing you guys with Miami just because you came in the league at the same time and definitely have contrasting ways that you've gone about that. Does that mean anything to the players? Do you guys compare them yourselves to them and what they've done at all? And is there any kind of extra meaning or intensity to this game this weekend as a result?
I mean, there's always going to be a little something there just because we were expansion teams at the same time and pitted against each other, but there's nothing directly in our games or like we've noticed against ourselves where things have gotten really chippy against each other or it's been a rivalry in that sense. But it was definitely a good feeling last year, kind of being projected worse than them and finishing better. But we just got to prove it every single year that we're the better team, and they have a lot of good players, and I think they've made a lot of strides, and they're definitely going to be tough to beat. But I think if we play the way we think we can, we definitely have a shot to win. And we definitely should win if we're at home.
Just a quick follow-up to that. Did that make that playoff game a little bit sweeter?
Yeah, that definitely did.
Joining us now, we have Dylan Nealis, who will be also previewing the match, and he comes with a little bit of background on our next opponent, having been traded from Miami on April 10th. So tell us a little bit, Dylan, how have you been adjusting to the team, and then what can we expect to see on Sunday?
Yeah, it's been a crazy couple weeks getting traded and settling in here. But the guys have been great. The players, coaching staff, medical staff, everybody here in Nashville has welcomed me with open arms. And I couldn't feel more welcome. feel close to home here in Nashville, and it's been great so far. And I'm looking forward to this long journey. And I think it's going to be a long, special run.
Thank you, Dylan. Dre Hughes with the first question for you with the Tennessean.
Yeah, hey Dylan. Good to meet you virtually. We haven't spoken before, but congrats on. I'm sure you're looking forward to the match on Sunday. But I wanted to ask you more about just internally with Nashville and your teammates, specifically you and Jose Denaciano have kind of come in around the same time, and you guys have had some history together at the college ranks in the final a couple of years ago when you were with Georgetown. What have you seen from him? How has he played with you guys and trained with you guys? Do you know about, his positioning and just how he's fit so far with the team?
Yeah, obviously I got to know him pretty well in that final last year, 2 years ago actually. Quickly how time flies, but yeah, I remember him. We didn't go up against each other in the final. He was on I believe his right side, and I was playing right back, so we were on opposite sides of the field. But I remember he caused a lot of problems for us back in college, and I know he stayed an extra year at school, and I think he's going to be a great fit here. He offers a lot. He's a very versatile player. He could play multiple positions, so that always helps. And yeah, he's been fitting in great. He's been having some great training sessions so far. Especially his first year in the pros. It could be quite difficult making that transition, but he's been doing well for himself.
Kobe Price with the South Florida Sun Sentinel with the next question.
Hey Dylan, how's it going?
What's up, Kobe?
Good seeing you again. Glad to hear you're adjusting well to Nashville.
Yeah.
Once touching on Sunday, obviously you were with Miami for most of the preseason, so you got traded. You were with them last year, of course. What have you seen, I guess, in the first two games, and obviously with your experience being with them beforehand, what do you see as the difference, that different team you're going to expect, I guess, on Sunday versus the team that, you were on last year that you're going to play? I guess you played on last year.
Yeah, obviously they made a couple new big additions this year to the roster, so they got some better players in there. But just as a whole, everywhere on the field, they're super talented. They got a lot of talented players, older vets, and even younger guys that are just extremely talented. I think they're just going to be a more organized group. I think Phil's going to have them buy into the same goal this year. They're all going to follow Phil's way. I think they've had good showings in the first two games. Maybe unlucky in the first game against the Galaxy. Could have gotten a result. And then the Philly game was a good comeback win. So I think definitely going to be a better team, this year than last year, and more organized for sure.
Michelle Kaufman with the Miami Herald with the next question.
Hey, Dylan, again, nice to see you again, and good to see that your parachute landed well and you're starting new over there. I just want to ask you personally what it'll feel like. You've went through, even though it was a short journey, but still, a lot of a year basically with all these guys that are on this Inter Miami team, and I'm sure you made a lot of close friends and stuff. What's it going to be like for you to be playing against them?
Yeah, well, first and foremost, I should have touched on this when Kobe asked, but I would just like to send my prayers and condolences to Gonzalo and Federico and the rest of the Higuain family. Hopefully they got to spend some time and fly back to Argentina and enjoy time with their family in this time. Those two have had a big impact on my game in the year and a half I was there, and I just have a huge amount of respect for them. But yeah, and then it's going to be weird. I was there and quickly got traded here. I'll see some familiar faces, but I think, once I step onto that field, it's all a game to me. I'm looking to get 3 points out of it this weekend.
Tim Sullivan with the final question of the day. Team was for Club and Country.
Kind of a follow-up to Michelle's question a little bit there. Have you given your Nashville teammates some pointers about tendencies of individuals that you played with for Miami last year? Or is that something that you're removed enough that you don't maybe have that level of expertise to give to the Nashville guys?
Yeah, I definitely will. I think I've been reading up that a few guys have been out, so I guess I'll find out game day, who's playing where. And definitely give any info I can to my teammates here in Nashville, and try to give them the edge on some of the players that are in Miami.